So I know I have not really been doing too much content lately, either on here or on Instagram too much. And if you saw any of my Instagram posts at all, you might have realized it was because of a certain little ball of fur that suddenly popped into our lives over here. So a few days ago, my husband and I heard noises, like strange noises outside, and realized that there was actually a kitten living under our shed. And there's no mama anywhere nearby, no other kittens, nothing, just this one little tiny black kitten all by its lonesome. And we have a lot of predators that live in our area, so with the help of a friend, we were able to trap the kitten, and she is currently living her best life in our basement while we await a vet appointment, because we are hoping to keep her. She's very tiny and adorable. I will probably try to maybe insert a video clip of her somewhere in here. You're very distracting, miss. Ah! So, she is potentially our cat now. We're hoping things are fine. Oh yeah, so we've been busy trying to bond with a kitten and also keep it all safe and happy, while at the same time not exposing our kitty cat quite yet until the vet gives like a clean bill of health and everything to our little kitty. But anyway, yeah, so I've been kind of out of things a little bit dealing with that, but in honor of kitty cats, I figured I would do a book tag today, and it is called the What Cats Do book tag, and it was created by Kate at Melting Pots and Other Calamities, which I believe is a WordPress. So the first question in this tag is, purr. As cats do this when they are happy or relaxed, what is the book that makes you happiest or relaxed? So for this particular tag, I would have to go with a collection of fairy tales. This is the world's best fairy tales. It is an anthology put out by Reader's Digest a long while ago. This is a 2-volume set, which you might have seen in my main bookshelf tour. But this contains just a lot of fairy tales that I really love, and this is honestly one of my comfort reads whenever I've been particularly upset, or sometimes if I'm having trouble sleeping. This is what I will reach for. This is volume 2 of the set, and this has some of my favorites in here. This has Puss in Boots, The 6 Swans, East of the Sun and West of the Moon, and 12 Dancing Princesses, which is like my all-time favorite fairy tale. But yeah, so it has like tales like that in here, and also like Steadfast Tin Soldier and Golden Headed Fish, Hansel and Gretel, all the classics, or a good chunk of the classics anyway. So yeah, this is what I will normally reach for in that kind of situation. So the question is, sleep. What is a book that put you to sleep or was just boring? So I've had books put me to sleep before, but honestly it has less to do with the content of the book and more to do with how freaking tired I am. But as far as really boring, I would say a couple that I had to read for school come to mind. As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner, for one. that was either really boring or incredibly confusing. Jane Eyre was another that was really boring that I had to read for school, and Little Women, which I honestly, I don't know how I managed to get through that, especially since I read that one on my own. Like, no one even assigned it. My grandparents had a copy at their house, and I was like, well, there's movies about it, I might as well read it, and that was a mistake. Twitch while dreaming. Have you ever dreamt of a book you've read? I actually don't think I really have. I can't really think of any book that's ever, like, had me dreaming about it, really. I can definitely state that Pet Sematary gave me a heap ton of nightmares, but it wasn't nightmares specifically to do with the book itself. It's just an element of the book freaked me out so much that that part of it showed up in my dream. So it was more like it caused the nightmare to happen, but it wasn't technically the book itself that I was having a nightmare about. I don't know. I think I'll count that. The next question is, seems to play nice until the claws are out. Which book had the biggest plot twist? So, for this one, I'm trying to think of, like, crazy ass plot twists that were just, like, we had no clue about. But I think basically the only one that's kind of coming to mind is, it's not even like a huge plot twist. It's just something that happened that was surprising. And it was not the perpetrator of a particular crime was completely unexpected to me. And that would be in the Westing Game by Alan Raskin. This is like a twisty web of crimes and random things that are kind of happening but all interconnected, and one of the particular crimes, yeah, I had no clue who the actual person was. It was pretty surprising. So this is really the only one that comes to mind right now. The next question is, Cuddles. Which book character would you give a hug to? So there are several book characters that I would probably give a hug to. One that comes to mind would be young Danny Torrance from The Shining. Another one that comes to mind, which is a more recent book that I have read, would be Ollie, who is part of the Small Spaces series. This is the second book that I just read last month. Yeah, I would say Ollie really, really needs a hug. The next question is, Catnip. What's a book that made you have warm and fuzzy feels? So, besides the Small Spaces series, which is, again, more recent books that have had me get the warm and fuzzies, I would probably say Wondersmith. The Calling of American Crow is what gave me warm and fuzzies recently. I really liked the development of the characters and development of relationships in this book. That really kind of warmed my heart a bit, so yeah. The next question is, Cat Breeds. What are your favorite books? Again, I'm going to cop out a little bit on this kind of question just because I do plan on having a video come out fairly soon about my favorite books. I have just about narrowed them down to my top 10. Yeah, I've just about narrowed it down, and then I am most likely going to finish trying to gather my thoughts about why they are my top favorite books. So yeah, it's a process, but I should hopefully be coming out with that video, I don't know, I'd say it would be this month, but I feel like I've said that before, so it probably won't be this month, but I guarantee it will be before the end of the year. The next question is, The Vet's Office. Your least favorite book? I have so many that I would count as like my least favorite book. Some that come to mind would be Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, Julie and Julia, As I Lay Dying, Jane Eyre, Little Women, what I mentioned before. There's a huge list, which I might come out with in a video at some other point, just ranting about books I really freaking dislike. But I don't know. We'll think about that. But yeah, it's basically, that's a chunk of like the really big list of my least favorite books. The next question is, being in places they shouldn't, least favorite cliche. So for this one, I kind of have two answers. One would be more of an overarching like cliche that's in like a lot of genres, and then the other would be usually just romance novels. But yeah, so the one that I've seen a lot in romance novels I'm really just over is the whole millionaire with a heart of gold thing who's also really freaking sick of being rich all the time, and he has to find this perfect, beautiful, au naturel, poor woman or entrepreneur who teaches him how to be a decent person and the simpler side of life. And just like, yo, I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of nice rich folks out there, but I'm really tired of hearing rich people go, woe is fucking me all the time. I'm so angry with all of my money. Okay, dude, whatever. And secondly, cliche would be, I don't know, is this a cliche or is it considered more tropey? Is the Mary Sue character who's just like perfect at freaking everything, and a lot of the times, you know, women don't like her or cause trouble, and the men are all freaking in love with her, and that's drama, and it's like and she's like perfect at things immediately and is just wonderful and has no flaws. I don't know, it's very tiring. So yeah. So final question is the good old cardboard box. What is the most underrated book series? So for a book series, what comes to mind would be the Circle of Three series by Isabel Bird. There are 15 volumes in this series, and it follows 3 young women. I am forgetting the name of one of them right now. It is Kate, and it is Annie, and it is, oh, Cooper. Ooh, wow. Okay. So it's following these 3 teenagers after a love spell is done and goes horribly wrong, and ends up bringing the 3 of them together to try to right or correct the spell. And also, yeah, that's basically the plot of the first book, but it also brings them together both as friends and as novices in the practice of Wicca. They're basically deciding to study and learn more about it over the course of all the volumes. It basically follows their individual but also connected paths to this particular spirituality. It is pretty fascinating. I enjoyed it as a teenager when this was found. I found it in my school library, and then I remembered it a couple of years ago and ended up buying the whole series. Overall, the series kind of holds up well, although there are elements of it that definitely show its age as a book that was written in the early 2000s. I believe this was published in 2001. I didn't read it until like 2006 or 7. And then reading it again in 2018 was a different kind of outlook on it. But yeah, I would say it's a pretty good series. There's paranormal things in here, of course. The later volumes end up getting more after school, especially in some ways that kind of, personally, I feel detract from the better parts of the story. But overall, it's not a bad series. I think if anyone wants to read paranormal young adult books that are not based on, like, particularly on, like, fairies or vampires or werewolves or whatever stuff we have going on right now in that genre, this is a good series for that. If anyone is particularly curious about Wicca, this is also a good series for that. Although I would say, you know, don't use this as your end-all guide to it, because there's a lot of fantastical things that happen in here that are not going to happen in Wicca. It is a fiction, so spells are kind of immediate, and there's magical happenstances, things like that, and that just isn't really... Life isn't Wizard of Oz or Harry Potter. I would say if you're curious about that kind of stuff, this is a good starting off point to see how your interest is, while also appreciating the fact that it is a work of fiction. And if you are indeed interested more in learning about the actual religion, I have lots of books that I could recommend about that, which would be a nice place to move off to, so you can get like the more serious study that's talked about in here. Like I said, after school, especially after a while, but fairly well written overall. I do have to say, looking at it as an adult as opposed to a teenager, my feelings on some characters definitely have shifted. But yeah, I would still consider this to be an underrated series. It is very entertaining. So that was the last question. I hope you have enjoyed this little book tag, and I hope you have enjoyed the little clip of the wonderful kitten, who I hope to potentially be featuring more in, well, if not in here, more in like my Instagram and stuff. But anyway, hope you guys are having a wonderful week, and see you next time.